You're listening to The Jacob Volk Show. He's breaking down the latest and greatest in sports as only he can. Follow him on Twitter @RealJacobVolk. Here he is, Jacob Volk.
Sports fans, welcome to another edition of the Jacob Volk Show. I am the Jacob Volk, and you're not. You know what I'm going to start with. It's not even a discussion. It's Yankees-Red Sox. A one-game playoff between arguably the two biggest rivals in the sport, with the winner earning the right to lose to the Rays in the ALDS? Yes, please. If you'll recall from last year, when I preview MLB postseason games, I focus on the pitching matchups. The reason I do that is because anything else would result in me speaking in cliches, and I don't want to do that. Plus, more often than not, it is the starting pitching that decides who's going to win a postseason game. Not always. We've seen starters get shellacked and their team rallies to get the win. We've seen bullpen games in the playoffs, unfortunately. I don't think it works. I think it kills your bullpen. But odds are we'll see it at least once this month. But I really think focusing on the starting pitching matchup is the way to go. For the Yankees, they have the best pitcher in baseball going. You know him. You love him. It's Gerrit Cole. Obviously a power pitcher. Fastball, slider, curveball, changeup. He loves to paint with his fastball. Loves to get hitters swinging through it. And of course that sets up his off-speed stuff perfectly. I saw a video a while back that showed how similar his 4 different pitches look to the hitter. Then as they get closer, they start breaking or not breaking, as the case may be. And by the time you realize it, it's already in the catcher's glove, basically. I mean, I don't care what pitcher you want to throw out there. Robbie Ray, Julio Urias, Jacob deGrom, Chris Sale, Adam Wainwright, Walker Buehler, Max Scherzer, it doesn't matter. Gerrit Cole is the best pitcher in baseball today. He's got the slider that tails away from righties. He's got the changeup that tails away from lefties. He's got the curveball that he'll throw against lefties and righties. He's just great. He's outstanding. He's elite. He's the best pitcher in baseball today. Now, we all know that he grew up a Yankees fan. We've all seen the sign. Yankees fan today, tomorrow, forever. I can say with a high degree of confidence that Cole thought about being in a game just like this. Maybe not a wild card game, but certainly a series that all comes down to one game. If you want to say winner takes all, you can. I know some people don't like that term for the wild card game, but you get the point they're making. He thought of being in an all-important game as a member of the Yankees against the Boston Red Sox, arguably their biggest rival. And I say arguably because the Yankees-Astros rivalry has more juice. Them stealing signs is a lot more fresh in our minds than Babe Ruth being sold to the Yankees. I mean, I'll say this, Yankees-Red Sox certainly has history behind it. Harry Frazee, in essence, gifts the Yankees a dynasty. You think of the first World Series that the Yankees won in their history, 23, 27, 28, and 32. None of those happen without Ruth being sold to the Yankees. And that really set the Yankees on the course of dominance. You've got the 4 straight World Series from 36 to 39. 6 World Series in 8 years, from 36 to 43, 5 straight from 49 to 53, the epic season in 61. Meanwhile, the Red Sox were garbage. From the time that Ruth played his first game as a Yankee to President Kennedy being shot in Dallas, the Red Sox only made 1 World Series. It was 1946. Johnny Pesky held the ball. Yes, Red Sox fans were bitter about that. And it goes even further. 78, the Boston Massacre. Bucky Dent earns a new middle name. 86, Bill Buckner gets the same middle name. 03, Grady Little sticks with Pedro Martinez too long in Game 7. Aaron Boone hits the big home run off Wakefield to win the pennant. The Red Sox finally get their revenge in 04, coming back from 3-0 down. After that, for the most part, it's been all Red Sox. Yes, the Yankees have 09, but the Red Sox have 04, 07, 13, and 18. I mean, as we know, this rivalry has some big moments. Iconic moments. Moments that we'll be talking about for years and decades. The Dent home run. There's not a Yankees fan alive that doesn't know Bill White's call by heart. Deep to left, Yastrzemski will not get it, it's a home run. A 3-run home run by Bucky Dent. The Yankees now lead by a score of 3-2. If you can't recite that by heart, you're not a real Yankees fan. It's okay if you didn't know that was Bill White, but you should know the call. There are certain calls that you should know by heart. That's one of them. In 03, Game 3, Pedro Martinez versus Roger Clemens. devolves into a boxing match. Kareem Garcia gets hit by Pedro Martinez. Pedro had the greatest quote about that after the fact. Who is Kareem Garcia? Why is he trying to start stuff? I mean, I liked Garcia. I actually have a Kareem Garcia shirt, believe it or not. But Pedro's right that if he wanted to start something, he wouldn't hit Kareem Garcia. Then the next inning, Clemens hits Manny Ramirez. That starts a brawl. Don Zimmer charges at Pedro. Martinez throws Zimmer to the ground. Jeff Nelson got into it with a groundskeeper. It was madness. Then Game 7, Roger Clemens does nothing. He's pulled after 3 innings. Mike Mussina came in with runners on the corners. Nobody out. The Red Sox are up 4-0 at this point. 4-0 isn't an insurmountable deficit, but if it snowballs further, you're not feeling good about your chances. Mussina comes in, gets Jason Varitek to strike out, and gets Johnny Damon to ground out into a double play. Pedro holds the Yankees in check for the most part. With 5 outs left in the game for the Yankees, the Red Sox were up 5-2. Derek Jeter hits a double over Trot Nixon's head that Nixon woefully misplayed. Bernie Williams hit an RBI single. And then Matsui hit a ground rule double. And here's the iconic moment. Grady Little comes walking out. Martinez had thrown 118 pitches to that point. He started the inning at 100. Little slapped Pedro on the back and said, "Go get him." Georgie Posada hits an RBI double. It scores Williams and Matsui. The game is tied at 5. Iconic moment. More iconic moment. Aaron Boone hits the home run off Tim Wakefield on the first pitch that he saw in that at-bat. All but guaranteeing that 14 years later, he would be hired as Yankees manager. The Red Sox would get their revenge with the iconic moments. After getting slaughtered 19-8, no one alive thought that the Red Sox were going to come back. It had never been done before in baseball history. Blowing a 3-0 series lead. The Yankees are up 4-3 entering the bottom of the 9th. Mariano Rivera is in for his 2nd inning of work. No one remembers that the 9th inning was Rivera's 2nd inning. Why Joe Torre didn't put Tom Gordon in the 8th inning, we'll never know. But Kevin Millar drew a walk. Dave Roberts pinch ran for him. He stole second on the first pitch. Then Bill Miller hit an RBI single that tied the game at 4. A few innings later, David Ortiz hit a 2-run home run off Paul Quantrill, who I absolutely hate. Red Sox won 6-4. Game 5. The Yankees are up 4-2, entering the bottom of the 8th. Tom Gordon gives up a home run to David Ortiz. The Red Sox manufacture another run. They tie the game at 4. It's a battle of the long relievers, Esteban Loaiza versus Tim Wakefield. Ultimately, Wakefield would win as David Ortiz hit an RBI single to win the game 5-4 send the series back to the Bronx. To this day, I hate Esteban Loaiza. Game 6, the stupid bloody sock. Game 7, Kevin Brown starts. He's inept. Javier Vasquez comes in. Bases loaded, 1 man out for Johnny Damon. The first pitch that Vasquez threw in the freaking game, a guy who was an all-star that year, but fell apart in the second half. Home run. Made it 6-0 Red Sox. The game was over right then and there. The 04 ALCS is without question the worst moment in Yankees history. There is no doubt in my mind that they would have beaten the Cardinals in the World Series that year. This is a rivalry that has a million iconic moments. Let's see if this game tonight will give us another one. But to go back to my original point, I know I went down the rabbit hole, but to go back to my original point, this is probably what Gerrit Cole dreamed of as a little kid. Pitching in a must-win game as a Yankee against the Red Sox in the playoffs. That's what you dream about as a little kid. When you look at who the Red Sox have pitching, it's Nathan Eovaldi, obviously a former Yankee. He throws 5 pitches, fastball, curveball, slider, splitter, cutter. He really likes to attack with his fastball and his cutter. He has the splitter that sort of acts like a changeup. He likes to throw the curveball in on lefties, the slider away from righties. Now, he's had a good year. Nate Eovaldi overall has probably been the best Red Sox pitcher. Either him or Garrett Whitlock. Take your pick. Whitlock has been outstanding. How ironic would it be if Garrett Whitlock came in a big moment and shut down the Yankees? You know how the Red Sox got Garrett Whitlock? They took him from the Yankees in the Rule 5 draft. Brian Cashman gifted the Red Sox their best reliever. I'll say this, if Whitlock comes in a big moment and kills the Yankees, I promise you, tomorrow, I'm going to go off on Cashman like I never have before. But Nate Eovaldi has been, without question, their best starter. He went 11-9 with a 3.75 ERA this year. The thing is, though, while he's been their best starter this year, he's not their ace. Their ace is Chris Sale. That's who you want starting if you're a Red Sox fan. But you had to burn him on Sunday to make sure that you'd have home field advantage for this matchup, or that you'd be in the playoffs at all. So the Yankees have their ace going, and the Red Sox have their number 2 going. If that doesn't bode well for the Yankees, I don't know what does. And also, one other thing that deserves mentioning, JD Martinez isn't on the wild card roster. Martinez has been one of the best Red Sox hitters this year. He had 286 with 28 home runs and 99 RBIs. So yes, the Yankees are without DJ LeMahieu, but the Red Sox being without Martinez is much worse. Now the Yankees did make a couple interesting moves in advance of this game. Greg Allen and Rob Brantley will be on the bench for the Yankees tonight. Allen gives the Yankees another pinch runner, along with Tyler Wade. Andrew Velazquez can pinch run too, but you'll most likely see him as a defensive replacement. Brantley's interesting, though. Aaron Boone said that Kyle Higashioka is going to start tonight. He's been Garrett Cole's catcher all year. But Sanchez is the better hitter. Say what you want about Sanchez, but he's a million times better than Kyle Higashioka. So the question is, will Sanchez be used just as a pinch hitter? Or will he be the DH? Will the outfield be from left to right Gallo, Gardner, Judge? Or will the outfield from left to right be Gallo, Judge, Stanton? Basically, it comes down to this. Who would you rather have in the lineup? Brett Gardner or Gary Sanchez? I think I'd rather have Gardner, and I never thought I would say that. But Gardner being in the outfield gives the Yankees much better defense. Their infield defense is shaky. Rougned Odor isn't a third baseman. And yes, Gleyber Torres has been good at second, but he hasn't played there a lot this year. I understand he's a born second baseman, and you feel okay with him there, but no one's going to mistake him for Lou Whitaker anytime soon. Also, Gardner has really turned it on the second half. After a dismal first half, Gardner hit .250 with 7 home runs and 26 RBIs. He gives you another lefty, so you can have 4 lefties and 5 righties in the lineup. He'll work deep in counts. Getting into the Red Sox bullpen will be important tonight, because the Red Sox don't have a great bullpen. Get Eovaldi out of there early, and it bodes really well for you. So to answer the question why Rob Brantley is on the 26-man roster tonight, it's because when Sanchez pinch hits for Higashioka, you'll still have a backup catcher. In case something happens to Sanchez, you'll be able to replace him with a real catcher as opposed to an emergency catcher. Now, this is how I would arrange the lineup if I was Aaron Boone. I'm not saying that this is what's going to happen, but this is just what I would do. Torres, Rizzo, Judge, Gallo, Stanton. Urshela, Gardner, Higashioka, Odor. Basically what that does is it separates the righties and lefties. Think about how I just arranged the lineup. I have righty-lefty, righty-lefty, righty-righty, lefty-righty-lefty. I understand that Giancarlo Stanton is a million times better than Joey Gallo. I'm not the biggest Gallo lover in the world. I don't hate him, but I don't love him. But I would rather have a big lefty bat separating my 2 big righty boppers in Judge and Stanton. All in all, I think everything is shaping up really well for the Yankees to win this game. They have their ace going tonight. The Red Sox don't. The Red Sox are without JD Martinez. He's infinitely more important to the Red Sox than DJ LeMahieu is for the Yankees. I'll say this, though, in the Red Sox's defense. The Martinez injury just means that Kyle Schwarber is going to DH. And Schwarber has been great for the Red Sox. He hit .291 with 7 home runs and 18 RBIs for him. He had a .435 on base percentage. That's insane. I mean, yeah, Schwarber's been good for the Red Sox. There's no question. He's just not J.D. Martinez. I think this really shapes up well for the Yankees. I do think they're going to win tonight. And if they don't, be prepared for major changes that I'll outline in my Yankees offseason preview on Friday night. If the Yankees advance to the ALDS, I don't know when my Yankees offseason preview will be. I'll say this, though. Major League Baseball released the times for the first 3 games of all LDSs. Game 3 of the Rays ALDS, the first road game that the Rays will have in that series, which could be in the Bronx, depending on if I'm right and the Yankees win tonight, is set to be a 4 o'clock start on Sunday. You could not pick a worse time to do that. The Jets are the London game. So for all the Yankees and Jets fans out there, like me, or even just the New York fans, you're getting up at 9:30 to watch the Jets play in London. Then you have to stay up to watch the Yankees. And it gets worse if you're a Yankees-Giants fan, because the Giants are a 4 o'clock game on Sunday against the freaking Cowboys. So what are you watching if you're a Giants fan and a Yankees fan? Are you watching Game 3 of the ALDS? Or are you watching Giants-Cowboys? That game should have been the 8 o'clock game. You would have given people time to take a nap. You can have dinner before the game, and then make your way there. You can eat at the stadium. You can order from your seat at the stadium. It would have been perfect. And Yankees-Giants, okay, yes, you're missing some of the Giants game if you're going to the Yankees game, but if you're going to neither, it's perfect. The Giants game will be over by then, unless it goes into overtime. And you just flip on the Yankees game. That is a terrible job by Major League Baseball. An absolutely terrible job. I have no idea what I'm going to do on Sunday now. Like, there's a chance that I'll be able to give you a Jets instant recap right after the game, because I'm going to Game 3 of the ALDS if it's in the Bronx. Okay, I promise you. I already have tickets. I'm going. That is happening. Write that in ink. But here's the thing. I don't know when I'm going to leave for that game. Maybe 2? Maybe 2:30? That doesn't give me a ton of time to work on the instant recap. It can be done. I just really don't have a lot of time. But it'll get done, and it'll be good. I promise. It's just life would have been easier for me if it had been the 8 o'clock game. I'll say this, though. Dad, if you're listening, odds are you're going to end up driving to and from the Bronx. I'm probably going to end up sleeping in the car both ways. I'll make it up to you. I'll drive to and fro on Monday. Assuming there is a Game 4 in the Bronx. But I'll need to catch up on some sleep in the car on Sunday. Moving on now to something that isn't official yet. I don't know what the Padres are waiting for, but it seems like this is going to happen sooner rather than later. According to Jon Heyman of the MLB Network, the Padres will fire Jayce Tingler. Now, this report came out on Saturday. Nothing new has happened. I just didn't talk about it on Monday because I wanted to keep the baseball stuff all together. This is, without question, the right decision. You think about all the big moves that A.J. Preller made this offseason. Trading for Blake Snell, trading for Yu Darvish, signing Ha-Sung Kim, trading for Joe Musgrove, signing Jurickson Profar, and signing Mark Melancon, even at the deadline, trading for Adam Frazier, and trading for Daniel Hudson. I mean, those are big moves. The Padres on paper had one of the best rosters in all of baseball. We were salivating over a Dodgers-Padres NLDS. Now we're salivating over a Giants-Dodgers NLDS. Give the Giants credit. They were by far and away the best team in baseball for the vast majority of the season. I mean, sometimes if your team isn't involved in a series, it's very hard to get into it. Like Rays Red Sox, assuming that's what happens, I'd have a tough time getting into. Giants Dodgers, I'll have a very easy time getting into. Old school rivalry, the two best teams in baseball going at it. This is the World Series. Giants Dodgers is the World Series. But the Padres really should have been in that mix. The fact that they finished under 500 is absolutely inexcusable. You need to fire Tingler. It's not even up for debate. He should have been fired right after Sunday's game. I mean, how good is Jayce Tingler? That's what I want to know. Yes, the Padres made the NLDS last year. They got swept by the Dodgers. But that was a 60-game joke. I mean, not for nothing, the Miami Marlins made the playoffs last year. The Minnesota Twins made the playoffs last year. The Cleveland Indians made the playoffs last year. I can't read anything into making the playoffs last year. I mean, this year the Padres were really expected to contend for a World Series. Maybe not win it, but certainly be in the mix. To finish under 500? That's absolutely inexcusable. Think about it this way. If I'm excluding last year's 60-game joke, the Padres haven't had a winning season since 2010. You know what happened in 2010? The Padres didn't even make the playoffs. The last time they made the playoffs, again, not counting last year, was 2006. They lost to the Cardinals in 4 games in the NLDS. A.J. Preller is doing his best to put together a roster that can win. No one can look at the Padres roster and say that it's unreasonable to expect them to make the playoffs. You've just got to find a manager to get you over the hump. It's not Tingler. He proved that this year. I don't know who the right guy is. I've got to wait until I see some of the reports on who's gonna get interviews and who should get interviews, stuff like that. But anyone's better than Tingler. And anyone would be better for the Mets than Luis Rojas. The Mets declined their option on him being their manager next year. He could stay with the team in another role. We don't know if he's gonna take the Mets up on that offer. But regardless, the Mets will be looking for their fifth manager since 2017. 17 was Terry Collins' last year. Then they had 2 years of Mickey Callaway. They had Carlos Beltran for a little bit. We all know what happened with him. They replaced Beltran with Luis Rojas. And now we're on to number 5. It's the right decision to get rid of Rojas. Just like the Padres, the Mets entered this year with a ton of expectations. Maybe they weren't expected to make a ton of noise, but I certainly picked them to make the playoffs. I think I picked them as the second wildcard team. I think I had the Braves winning the NL East, the Dodgers winning the NL West, and I had a Padres-Mets NL wildcard game in San Diego with the Padres winning it. But still, the Mets would have been in the playoffs for the first time since 2016. It would have been a step in the right direction. Instead, this season went about as poorly as it possibly could have. You had the Jared Porter fiasco. Steve Cohen getting caught in the GameStop stock mania. Zach Scott being arrested for a DUI. Injuries galore. Team management publicly blasting the players for not being properly conditioned and not drinking enough water. The thumbs down fiasco. This was all supposed to change with Steve Cohen, let me tell you. He's no different than the Wilpons. I mean, we've heard the rumors that the Mets are gonna look for a big fish to take over their team. Not necessarily as their manager, as their president of baseball operations. I mean, you're not going to hire a manager until you hire a president of baseball operations. They're going to talk to Theo Epstein. They want to talk to Billy Beane. They want to talk to David Stearns. That's the right decision. Like, even if you get a no from the Athletics and you get a no from the Brewers, at least you tried. So yes, go after Theo Epstein hard, give him whatever contract he wants, give him whatever power he wants. It'll be very interesting to see who he hires as manager. Would he go with John Farrell? Would he go with someone a little more unknown? Whatever Theo Epstein does, you've got to think will work. He has that track record of success that just makes you think, okay, I've got to go along with this. Who am I to say that this isn't going to work? But back to Rojas, it's kind of tough to put everything at his feet because the Mets were so hampered by injuries. Jacob deGrom missed a ton of games. Carlos Carrasco missed a ton of games. Joey Lucchesi missed a ton of games. Robert Gesellman missed a ton of games. Jeff McNeil missed a lot of games. James McCann missed a lot of games. Francisco Lindor missed a lot of games. Brandon Nimmo missed a lot of games. Michael Conforto missed a lot of games. J.D. Davis missed a lot of games. The thing is, though, when you finish under 500, after starting the year with sky-high expectations, and you have all the drama that I spoke about before, someone needs to be the scapegoat. And the manager is a very easy scapegoat. Also, not for nothing, but when those guys were healthy, they really didn't produce. James McCann didn't have a good season. Jeff McNeil was okay, if I'm being generous. You could do a lot better than him, but I wouldn't be willing to give him away. Francisco Lindor had a really disappointing season. Dominic Smith didn't have a great season. Michael Conforto had a really disappointing season. Taijuan Walker wasn't great. Carlos Carrasco wasn't that good. Rojas had to go. It was just that simple. It was very predictable. For Mets fans' sakes, because they are great fans, despite whatever Javier Baez and Francisco Lindor think, hopefully Theo Epstein can right the ship. Although, I don't want him to, because I absolutely hate the Mets. Yes, I'm one of those Yankees fans that hate the Mets. The Colorado Rockies removed the interim tag from Bill Schmidt's title, and he didn't waste any time getting to work. He signed Antonio Senzatella to a 5-year extension worth $50.5 million, and they signed CJ Cron to a 2-year extension worth $14.5 million. Let's start with Senzatella. That is, without question, one of the stupidest decisions the Colorado Rockies could have made. I mean, way to make a great first impression. Yeah, you did enough to make it so we'll remove the interim label from your title. Oh, great, thank you for that. I no longer need to impress you, so let me sign a really bad pitcher to a big extension. Antonio Senzatella is not good. Alright, the guy went 4-10 last year with a 4.42 ERA. If I'm being generous, he's a 4th starter. In a perfect world, he's a 5th starter. He's not terrible, but he's not all that good either. I mean, here's the thing. When you hear about a Rockies pitcher having a bad year, the first thought that goes through your head is, yeah, that's to be expected. It's impossible to pitch in Coors Field. The thing is, though, Senzatella was actually pretty good at Coors Field. 3-3 with a 3.97 ERA only giving up 5 home runs? Sure, I'm fine with that. I'll take that. But on the road, he was dreadful. 1-7 with a 5.05 ERA. This guy just isn't all that good. And you're going to give him $10.1 million a year? Who on earth was lining up to give Antonio Senzatella $10 million a year? Yes, he would have gone through the arbitration process this year for the second time, but he wasn't going to get a $7 million raise. That's insane. That's a terrible job by the Rockies. The thing is, though, the C.J. Cron extension actually makes a ton of sense. Like, you could have reversed this. You could have given C.J. Cron a 5-year extension worth $50.5 million, and Senzatella a 2-year extension worth $14.5 million, and I would have done backflips. Here's hoping that 24 hours from now we'll hear that everyone got it wrong. Senzatella is actually getting Cron's contract, and Cron is actually getting Senzatella's contract. They just sent the email wrong or something. C.J. Cron had a great year last year. You didn't hear about it because he played for the Rockies, but he hit .281 with 28 home runs and 92 RBIs. After doing nothing for the Tigers last year, and not setting the world on fire with the Twins in 2019, to see Cron turn it around like this makes sense. Now, he benefits from Coors Field. The home-road splits are jarring. At home, he hit .326 with 19 home runs and 68 RBIs. On the road, he hit .235 with 9 home runs and 24 RBIs. But he still finished with a .281 average, 28 homers, and 92 RBIs. It was by far and away his best season ever. It's a smart decision by Cron to want to stay with the Rockies. And you know what? They can pencil him in at first every day and know that he'll hold his own. He's a good player. I always liked him. I like this move by the Rockies. Alright, now I'll give you some NFL Volk talk. And I'll start with Raiders-Chargers. One of the weirdest games I've seen in a while. The game was supposed to start at 8:15. It ended up starting at 8:50 because there was a lightning storm. Now that's a reasonable excuse to delay the game 35 minutes, right? Not if you've been paying attention. The game was in Los Angeles, and SoFi Stadium has a dome. Why on earth was the game delayed because of a lightning storm when the game was going to be in a dome? What's the point in having a domed stadium if you can't play through a lightning storm? So let me get this straight. The ESPN crew can stay out there and do their thing on the field, but the players can't play? That was the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life. And we saw crazy trick plays. We saw a fake punt get absolutely blown up by Hunter Renfrow. We saw a fake field goal that resulted in a punt. There was another trick play that I don't remember off the top of my head. Just a weird game. But through it all, the Chargers looked like the much better team. when they went up 21-0 right before halftime, you got the sense that the Raiders weren't going to come back. Even when the Raiders made it 21-14, I didn't feel like the Raiders could really come back. The Chargers' offense just looked too good. Justin Herbert looked great. Completed 25 of 38 passes for 222 yards and 3 touchdowns. Austin Eckler had 15 carries for 117 yards and a touchdown. He also had 3 catches for 28 yards and a touchdown. Jared Cook had 6 catches for 70 yards and a touchdown. The Chargers' O-line was absolutely outstanding. Herbert only got sacked twice, but even then I felt like those were more his fault rather than the O-line's fault. I thought he didn't get the ball away quick enough. Rashawn Slater, Matt Filer, Corey Linsley, and Ode Abushi were tremendous. Storm Norton was not good, and the Chargers have an issue at right tackle. That is something that I'd really like them to address. But they have the flexibility to work around that. From a global sense, who were their biggest receivers? Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, and Austin Eckler. Yes, Jared Cook has had a good year, but the top 3 are 2 wide receivers and a running back. So you can keep a tight end in as a blocker and not lose much. The Chargers look like a really, really good team. Justin Herbert looks like the real deal. I think it's very likely that he's going to be the Chargers franchise quarterback for the next 15 years, just like Phillip Rivers was. In fact, he may even take the Chargers to heights greater than Rivers was ever able to. Realize, Phillip Rivers never made a Super Bowl. Phillip Rivers only made 1 AFC title game. It wouldn't surprise me if Herbert ended up with more postseason success than Rivers. The fact that the Chargers were able to go so seamlessly from Rivers to Herbert, in the immortal words of Humphrey Bogart, is the stuff that dreams are made of. An excellent job by Tom Telesco. As for the Raiders, they were just really bad. I mean, this was one of those games where nothing goes your way. It happens. I really can't get too upset because the Raiders were undefeated before yesterday. Yeah, Derek Carr didn't look great. Yeah, Josh Jacobs looked really bad. You could tell that he was hurt. Yeah, the Chargers did a good job of limiting Darren Waller's effectiveness. Excellent job by everyone on the Chargers defense. Really, overall, I thought the Chargers defense was outstanding. I wasn't impressed with Derwin James. I wasn't impressed with Alohi Gilman or Uchenna Nwosu. But for the most part, I thought the Chargers defense was great. Joey Bosa manhandled Alex Leatherwood. Through 4 games in the NFL, Alex Leatherwood has already had to go up against Justin Houston, TJ Watt, and Joey Bosa. Welcome to the big leagues, Rook. I mean, Leatherwood looks dreadful. I've heard people say he's already a bust. Again, he's going up against 3 of the best edge rushers in the NFL. it's hard for me to write him off as a bust because of that. Yes, he should be better. There's no question. But I'm not ready to write him off yet. You know, this is just one of those games where nothing goes your way. It happens. You'd prefer it to not happen on Monday Night Football with the entire NFL world watching. But all in all, it's really not the end of the world if the Raiders destroy the Bears on Sunday, which I think they will, because Justin Fields has not looked good and David Montgomery is out with a knee sprain for the next 4 to 5 weeks. All will be forgotten. Speaking of the Bears, that's how I'm going to end this show. They traded a 2023 6th rounder to the Dolphins for Jakeem Grant. Now, I would be very surprised if Grant made an impact on offense. He's shown an ability to do that in the past. Last year, he had 36 catches for 373 yards and a touchdown. Not great, but not terrible. The thing is, though, this year, he only has 2 catches for -7 yards. No, the Bears did this to improve their special teams. Their kick returner this year has been Khalil Herbert, and their punt returner this year has been Nasimba Webster. Herbert has actually been a pretty good kick returner this year. He's actually second in the NFL in kick return yards and yards per kick return. But with the Montgomery injury, presumably he's going to get more run on offense. So you may not want to see him on special teams getting hit more, exhausting himself that way. Just keep him on offense. And as a punt returner, Webster has been dreadful. He only has 4 returns for 13 yards. Not 13 yards per return. 13 yards total. You look at Grant, he's shown an ability to return both kicks and punts. He's been in the NFL since 2016. Excluding 2017, he's had a special teams touchdown every year. He hasn't had one yet this year, but we've got 13 more games to go. It wouldn't surprise me if Grant had at least one before the season's over. He'll probably handle both kick and punt returns. I guess it's theoretically possible that you could see Grant as a wide receiver because Marquise Goodwin hasn't set the world on fire. He only has 5 catches for 55 yards this year. But if Grant is going to make a true impact for the Bears, it's going to be on special teams. And I think he can make that impact. Good job by the Bears. They win this trade. Until tomorrow, I'm Jacob Volk, and always remember, if you disagree with me, you're wrong.